We have reached Stephen Shulman. He is the president and CEO of the Jewish Federations of Canada. Stephen, thank you so much for making time for us today.
Thank you, Natasha.
Stephen, let's begin by how the Jewish communities of Canada have responded in the past 2 weeks since the initial reports of the attacks by Hamas took place.
Well, our Jewish communities across the country, from Atlantic to Pacific, have responded in a way that nobody's seen in living memory. Our federations across the country, which represent our communities, which bring every facet of our communities together, have been engaged in emergency fundraising efforts. And today we crossed the $100 million mark, which is quite extraordinary, but it's extraordinary because we've never seen an emergency like this.
$100 million in 2 weeks. That is extraordinary. What is that money going to be used for?
The money, in fact, is already starting to be used. We have, through our partners on the ground in Israel, through the office that our Jewish federations have, and all of our partners, it's already starting to be deployed. It's used for everything from those victims and their families that we saw 2 weeks ago, yesterday, the people who suffered wounds and who lost family members, thousands of people ultimately affected directly, immediate aid for victims of terror. These are people who've lost their homes, who don't have anywhere to go, who require all kinds of trauma relief, all kinds of relief in terms of moving and taking care of them. There are people who have family members who are hostages. How do we address those immediate needs of those families? So these funds are doing all of that. But in addition, think about it, Natasha. You know, we're hearing all about strikes on Gaza, but there have continued to be rockets falling indiscriminately on civilian targets in Israel. And there are people who have lost properties. There are whole communities with tens of thousands of people who have been moved. So we're talking about evacuation. We're talking about support for evacuation, shelter, food, respite for children, activities, all of the staffing that you need for that. All of that, emergency medical services, help for seniors who are in seniors' homes. So it's a broad list, but our federations across Canada are on the scene right now as we speak.
Are they on the ground there working to distribute the aid?
We are on the ground. Our federations are here, but we have an office in Jerusalem. We have local representatives on the ground who, in fact, work with our federations, who know our communities very well. And in fact, we provide priorities based on the information we're getting from Israel on what's most needed. So we're getting that in real time. It's not just simply blanket aid. It's where can we make the greatest difference at any given time.
You know, a question that comes up a lot on the Gaza front, sir, is how do we know that the aid is going to the people who need it most, that it doesn't end up in the hands of, in the case of Gaza with Hamas? So some people would naturally ask the same question, especially when you're talking about such substantial amounts. How do we know that the money is going directly to the families and the people who've been internally displaced and not ending up with some sort of think tank or the IDF or a branch of the Israeli government?
Okay, so let me say first off, we don't support the IDF. That's for the Israeli taxpayer. We support the very important, what's called the third sector in Israel, which is civil society. And the civil society sector is absolutely critical at this stage in terms of this emergency in Israel. As you can imagine this happening in Canada and what the situation would be. Now imagine that Canada geographically is the size of Vancouver Island, if that, and what the situation would be in the society. I can tell you that we are dealing with our federations day in, day out. When it's not an emergency, we're dealing through our organizations, Jewish Federations of Canada, UIA. We have an office there, people who are employed directly by our federations, not by any individual organization, who can verify absolutely the money is being used. The money is being used in the most important way. And also, Natasha, this isn't just money in and money out. This is an emergency that, yes, there are immediate needs, absolutely. So that's, I would say, the sprint in the race. Then there's the middle distance of the coming weeks and months. But this kind of catastrophe, really, when you talk about entire communities torched, a quarter of the population being murdered in the most barbaric fashion, and whole communities all over Israel having to evacuate because of the concern of further missile fire. For example, in the last 2 days in the north, when you have that, this is an emergency that these funds are going to be utilized over a very long period of time. So there's not only the question of who's getting them, but there's a timing about when they can best be used.
Stephen, we are quickly running out of time, but I don't want to let you go, sir, without asking you about putting a human face to this experience, because clearly it's only been 2 weeks. What are the stories you've been hearing from friends, family, colleagues in Israel about what people are dealing with right now?
Everybody is touched in the most personal way by this. And by the way, in Israel for sure, but even here, almost every Canadian Jew has a family member or somebody who's a friend who has a direct family member who is impacted. So I'll give you one story. Our federation, Toronto Federation's representative in Sderot, which is the largest city sort of right on the Gaza border, and that's where that police station was torched and the terrorists had taken over. He lives in a kibbutz very nearby Sderot, and he, in fact, was one of the people who had to fight off terrorists and save lives, literally with his own hands. And I have many other stories like this. Our Director General, my prime colleague in Israel, the most senior person there working on behalf of the federations, her daughter's best friend was just at a wedding 3 months ago. And the groom was in one of these kibbutzim on the border. The groom died, was murdered 2 weeks ago. So now you have a bride who had a wedding 3 months ago, who's now a widow. You hear story after story like this: trauma, physical need, financial need. But this is a strong country and a strong people. And the Canadian Jewish community and our allies here, our friends, Canadians of goodwill, are part of that. And together, we're answering the call toward action celebrating life, toward action celebrating freedom, and that's what we're doing together.
Stephen Shulman, thank you so much for your time today, sir.
Thank you, Natasha.